Duh.
I was born ready, bitch.
Good, because you're on.
Perfect intro.
How do we be a lady?
Let's chat.
Bagged. Welcome, Tori. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know it's such great girl time, and sometimes you just never even know where the conversation starts and ends, and all that fills in between is, real stuff. It's real life stuff, right? So what were we going to talk about today? I had read this book recently, and it's called How to Live Like a Lady, Lessons of Life, Manners, Style. And I think that this really is part of our world and industry. And one of the things that, of course, the common denominator on this podcast is about being a mother and a leader and having self-love. So this book was pretty relevant, and really I connected to it because of all of those reasons, not only us having that security in ourselves, but to teach our daughters those things. And so I think you're the expert at this. So this is, I'm going to throw it
How
back
to be a lady? That's laughable.
I don't think either one of us is an expert at that.
Whoa.
But I do think one part about being a lady, or the femininity behind it, is rocking your confidence. So your poise, your posture, like owning it, being that badass, who you are, knowing who you are. And that's sort of the presence that a lady, that a female can have walking into a room or wherever she's going, that there is presence. And, it can come with grace, or it can come with, I don't know what Nick just said, you're intense, or no, what did he say? You're aggressive. that it's that. But, with that, it's sort of like we're owning it. We're not shy about it. We're not closed off about it. And so I think that that's something that we have a lot of women in our lives that we might be able to influence that. And I know I have women in my life that are a little bit wiser, maybe have more years ahead of me, that I look at and I think, yes, I want that poise.
Goals.
Yeah, it's a total goal. So there's so many different layers to that. And, the part that I think that's expert with you is that you always look on trend and polished.
Me,
but
that's
you
you.
do. Both of us have our own.
What I love
inner.
about you, though, is that you almost dress for your role. It's like
Yes.
we're in Kennebunkport, and you've got like your linen on and your fedora with a neutral lip, and like it's like a whole mood for you. Like that is something I love about you.
And I totally see, like, you own your vibe. You own what like works for your style, and you're kind of this bohemian chic, like even when you
I'll take it.
And I remember even your baby shower, because again we've talked about this a lot.
Which one?
When you were wearing that blue and white dress, like that was you, and then you had the flower in your hair, and like that was you. And so you've never really, no matter as the years go by, like you don't really go too far away from that. Like there's always that as the common denominator when it comes to your fashion, and also with makeup. And so that's what I mean about throwing it back at you, because there's so many makeup trends out there, and I don't love all of them, and I definitely don't. A trend is something that doesn't typically stay, and then you look at sort of the classic pieces in clothing, and then even makeup. I think a classic red lip is something that's sort of maybe a signature for me, but I think every woman, there's a red lip for everyone. And I think that there's also a specific look that makes, within makeup, that makes you look your best. It enhances your features. And sometimes that might not be what's on trend, but that's what is best for you.
Totally.
So,
well, I'm hearing so many things, because I think that ultimately part of kind of growing up and coming into ourselves is finding our look and our vibe. And I think that trends will influence it to some extent, but fashion is all about dressing for the moment, right?
Yeah.
Dressing for your body and for the event. And so, that's why I always tease you where you pull out your accessories for, whatever the destination is. And I love that. For me, I'm still in the treatment room and I'm still working with clients. So as much as my studio is really fun and trendy and young and it's a vibe, like I also need to be comfortable at work because I can't do my best work if I'm not. And so I think over the years that's kind of been cultivating my look for what I'm doing every day. And I think that just comes with time and you kind of begin to own that to some extent. But I talk about trends in beauty so much in the studio with clients and the girls that work for me and things like that, because for me, I named my business Dollface because I think it's so important to stay true to that classic traditional beauty. And I think that eyelash extensions, I should say, when they're done tastefully, in my humble opinion, I feel like they radiate youth and they give you that glow and they make you look awake, alive, prepared, and that's really kind of relates back to Dollface. Also, the style of makeup that I love to do is about clean, don't get me wrong, like I'll throw 2 pairs of strip lashes on you, like don't play. But at the same time, I want it to be clean. I'm not really into, the current Instagram looks of the cut crease and the, eyebrows that are taking over the face. And I've learned slowly and a little late, honestly, that when you choose the look that you love and you think is beautiful and that you want to give to your clients, what then happens in turn is those clients come to you for those looks that you specialize in versus trying to stay up with all these different trends and trying to keep up. I think that you're spreading yourself thin. First of all, you're not really kind of perfecting your craft and you're getting all these clients in that you don't really love what you're doing or how the end result comes out.
Right.
And therefore you're not really posting it. You're not, doing the best that you can with it. And so I've really, like I said, learned a little too late, I think, is, figuring out what your whole, look or your vibe or whatever we want to call it is, and really being true to that because lash extensions have taken like a turn and I don't really like the direction they're going. That's me personally, but people always know that they can come to Dollface for a beautiful natural lash enhancement.
Absolutely. And the makeup piece of it, which I think to have a niche like that, I think that that's huge. And of course we'll always learn. I'm always learning new trends, but it doesn't mean that that's what I lead with. It's nice to have in your back pocket, but that's a really great point, is that you gather those clients because you don't want to stretch yourself that thin and be too out of sort of what your expertise is and that box.
Totally.
I think as a consumer, so those that are not in the industry, that we can look at that not only with like specific makeup products that are needed, whether it is everybody needs a good red lip, like I said, a bold mascara, a highlight, and everything else that kind of works in between. My daughter's 13 and she saw a foundation on TikTok and wanted to buy it. And I was like, hell no, I work for a makeup company, But I think that that's something that generation is kind of trying to figure out their niche. And now what I'm also seeing is even with clothing, that when you do buy those classic pieces, again, to your point about not stretching yourself thin. So you can be ready for the occasion with those basic pieces that are the high quality pieces that are always going to be staples year over year, just like specific makeup. And I forget who I was with, but we talked a little bit about makeup, and it was someone that wasn't in the industry and just said, women are just naturally good at makeup. And it's like, if you didn't have somebody to learn from, if your mother never wore makeup or you didn't have a female influence or someone, then no. It's not that easy and natural to everyone. So I think that's what's cool about our jobs, is that we can help someone, enhance their features. That's always my question when I do a makeup consultation is, what's your favorite feature? Because then we can kind of play off of that. Like maybe
I usually tell people what I think their best
Right.
feature is. Once again, Nick, I'm aggressive.
But I think that, that's a great question to lead with. And you might think, okay, it's that person's cheeks, but they may be a little self-conscious about that. So maybe it is their eyes, or getting them to say something positive about themselves that then we can build from. And so that creates that feeling beautiful inside and out sort of vibe. And when you look good, you feel good. So like, how do we help? And I think that that's a really great value to what we do for a living, because being in the beauty industry, we can make people get to that point and encourage them to get to that point to feel their best and look their best.
It's the best part.
Yeah.
It's the best part of our job, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Effortless beauty and making them feel good and giving someone that little kind of bounce to their step back. And
Absolutely.
the studio is really more social than a relaxation environment. So especially kind of during this time, I feel like people are really loving kind of the female interaction piece of it and coming in and just kind of getting to laugh together and commiserate together, whatever it is, and that kind of alone just kind of brings some of their energy back. And it's fun to see.
It totally is. And, the other part about, the industry and your studio is that it is something that people really look forward to do for themselves. And that's really why I always say changing up your merchandise and like always having something new in environments, because we all are consumers and we want to see what's new, but it doesn't have to be we don't have to capture every trend. We don't have to, we can pick and choose based on our style and how things evolve and how fashion sort of evolves to what we know will feel good in. Because if we don't feel good in it, we're not going to have that confidence walking into the room, whether it is our brows, our lashes, our lipstick, our outfit. So there's a fine line between kind of finding the balance between that side and, kind of staying current on trend, or at least looking fashion forward. What does that look like for everyone? It's different for everyone. We just talked about it with maternity clothes.
Yeah. The maternity clothes is a struggle, because I'm the last person that wants to run out and just buy a whole maternity wardrobe. And kudos to the girls that do that. But I'm like, once we get into this spring weather, then I'll be ready to just throw on some cute summer dresses, and I should be able to rally through till my due date and that.
Absolutely. And that is about sort of getting creative.
And it's like a semi-permanent accessory, like rocking your bump for a couple months,
Absolutely.
It's like, the hard part is that it's changing every week. So you're like, ooh, what's going to fit me this week and what's definitely going to be hanging low and looking like a fupa. But, you just roll with the punches, right?
It's true. It's so true. So what would you say are the top 3 makeup items that every girl should have?
Concealer, mascara. And then, I'm super brow forward, and that's really kind of the premise of Dollface at this point, is kind of the focus on the eyes and with that, our ocular fringe, such as our brows and lashes.
Love that.
I feel like lip gloss is important because it's kind of almost goes back to your health. Like when you have just something emollient on your lips, you look more hydrated, you look healthier. But then it's like brows, I feel like, are such a big deal. And kind of, even just getting back to that trend that's something that I think we're talking about all the time, is that these big, huge, bold brows are really trendy right now. And I go back and forth between what elements and aspects of it are trendy and what actually is here to stay. Because I think what we've realized with the brow lash enhancements is that when we're youngest is when they're thickest, fullest, most lush. So therefore, it's almost a testament to our youth when our lashes are full and our brows are full and things like that. And we kind of, connect the two. But I also think that it kind of goes to an extreme, right? So for example, when I do my microblading, I talk about that a lot and how I want your permanent makeup to look great when you have absolutely nothing on, because if your brows are too bold, then you feel like you need to be a slave with the rest of your makeup to kind of balance your face, and that's my worst fear for my clients.
That's a great point.
Yeah, but at the same time, the brow lamination, which is kind of just redirecting the hairs to make them a little fluffier and stand up a little more, that's trendy. You know, that kind of full, like, reckless, boho kind of look is trendy. And I love it. I'm so here for it. But, you know, so there are certain artists that I follow on Instagram. There's this one girl, her name is Brow Jam. I think she's based out of Scotland, and I love her work. Love her work. But as much as I love her free-flowing strokes that she creates with our permanent makeup, to me that's really trendy, and I don't believe in combining trends with permanent makeup, even if it isn't permanent, so to speak. I think that's a little tricky.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's still a pretty big commitment, you know, versus doing your brows with makeup that can be washed off the next day.
Absolutely.
So there is a huge difference there. I always say having you microblade my brows was the best decision I've ever made, because I definitely took for granted as a younger person with the beautiful brows that I had and over-tweezed them, and, you know, came
all
into
of
a
us
little
did.
bit of a nightmare.
It's so
I know.
sad.
I know.
And it's so funny too, because we're all traumatized from over-tweezing our brows and kind of what we've paid for because of it.
Absolutely.
So we're literally not going to let our kids get anywhere near tweezers or any of that. And I really love, like, especially in Sophia's generation, where this kind of, like, you know, clean, free, like, full, spunky brow thing.
Absolutely.
It's like, just let them go. And I'm loving that that's like what they're embracing, because it's so much better than the Gwen Stefani, like, one piece of hair connects to the next piece of hair.
I know. Remember those days? I don't know.
But even nowadays, like, when I have clients come in, I find that when their brows are too thin, and granted, not everyone can rock a full brow, right? It just doesn't always suit your features. But when I see someone with really, really thin brows or very asymmetrical brows, then the first thing that I think is that it's aging them, and how much youth I can bring back to their face by just giving them a little bit more symmetry and a little bit more fullness.
Well, and, you know, when we think about just enhancing your features, you know, you talked about lashes, and so whether your obviously lash extensions is like that superior choice of looking uplifted. I do think you look younger when you do have lash extensions on that are youthful and light and, you know, not overly huge.
Not like visors for your eyes. Exactly.
Exactly. And you know that they're fake. I'm definitely seeing this trend even in myself, that the less is more kind of vibe, and maybe that's me turning 40 this year, kind of reassessing my beauty routine and looks, that, you know, that's why you lash lifting my lashes and just having them dark and bold and separated nicely. Like, I feel good about that because I rock them, they're mine.
And you have great lashes.
And that's thanks to serums and, you know, growth factors and, like, you know, that enhancements that are getting me to that point. And I think that when you are looking at your features, you know, obviously starting with optimal skin health, your brows, and that lash line, and like then whatever your features, whether it's, you know, throwing on a cheek or a lip, that I'm realizing the older I get, and maybe I'm, you know, talking to the audience that has more seasoned skin or, you know, is getting to that age management category, that we are, you know, paying attention to that, and that maybe less is more. Even when it comes to makeup, when I've done makeup and I've done events or consultations with women, the older they are, sometimes their feedback is, well, I don't wear a lot of makeup because it makes me look older. And a lot of times I lead with, well, are you using a primer? What kind of makeup are you using? Hopefully it doesn't have silicone and talc in it. You know, all of that, that's the standard kind of clean beauty movement anyways, because I think that when your canvas is fresh, new, flawless, maybe with minerals or just that nice clean canvas to then just add a little pop of color, that's also the same rules I use with look with my wardrobe now. So maybe it's some classic, the standard look, and then maybe here and there you change it up with a little pop of color. And that seems to be working for me, which has made me consolidate my makeup bag and my closet.
Totally. Less is more.
Yeah, it can be.
I believe in quality over quantity more these days, too. Yep. I feel the older that I get, I can't run out and buy these super cheap clothes because they're not flattering on me. Right. They're not fitting properly. And I feel like I'd rather spend more money on more basic staple pieces and then kind of, spice it up with like accessories and little things that are kind of a little bit more trendy.
Absolutely.
But back to the makeup piece, I think that what's tough right now is that there's this kind of battle between the fact that we are trying to lead with a clean, more natural look, and that is a trend. And then at the same time, is that the other trend is being in front of a camera at all times.
Right.
And we all know that the camera kind of washes us out and mutes everything down a little bit. And I think that that's why some of these makeup looks have gotten so over the top and these eyelash extensions and all of it has gotten so overboard, is because people are looking to always lead with their camera face. And sometimes what's tricky is like, is your camera face and your real life face, how different are they? I have that conversation a lot in bridal trials because I think that I get a lot of brides that are more natural and they seek me out because they like kind of that classic beauty look, but it's constant, trying to...
That conversation.
Right, and just kind of coaxing them into going a little bit more bold because, the camera really washes you out. And especially when you have a professional photographer and the lighting and all that stuff. And so a lot of times, during the trial, we'll take pictures and let them look in the mirror because it's important for them to look their best and like themselves when they're interacting with their guests at their wedding, right? That's, to me, paramount. But it's also important for them to look amazing in these pictures that they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars
in. And they're going to have forever.
And that they'll have forever. Exactly.
There is a fine line, and that is what's interesting. We were talking about being on Instagram Lives earlier and Zooms, and how do you put your best face forward? And sometimes you have to realize you have to be a little nimble and pivot from one look to another because depending on what your environment it is, and that's sort of what the times are right now during this pandemic. And how do you adapt to that? And that's really a great way, just depending on what is the main focus of the day. And, there's specific makeup for those kinds of occasions. And then there's your light BB creams and tinted moisturizers maybe for the weekends. And same thing, I think that correlates with your wardrobe and sort of the casual look versus not. Or we used to teach back in the day with makeup classes how to take a day look into a night look. So maybe it's shifting.
And I still love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I always lead with that whenever I'm doing classes or lessons because I think that everybody needs to know their basic daytime look. And everyone, that's got to be personal to you. I say mascara when you ask me about the 3 components of makeup. And that's because I call myself a moth. I literally have the blondest. I remember even just being younger. And it's like if I left the house without mascara on, people were constantly asking me if I was sad, if I was tired, what was wrong with me. And it's like, no, I just didn't get to put mascara on to get off my back. But someone like you can rock out with no mascara. That's probably like way low on your priority list. Yeah, mascara is not on.
I say lipstick. I say definitely making sure your brows are on point. And I do think everybody needs concealer for sure, no matter whether it is for around the eye area or for a blemish or something. So that's definitely something I agree with because, every chick needs a good concealer.
I just feel like I look like an entirely different person as soon as I put concealer on.
Yes.
I put it all around my lid, like within my whole orbital bone.
I agree.
I have super pink eyelids, so I feel like it just really neutralizes and brightens up my whole eye area.
True. And I say that about... We've shared this before, how I look with brows and then without brows. So the fact that now I have the microbladed was just a game changer for me, and I think that's huge. I think there's a lot of people still sort of scared to consider it, but now seeing that it's something that's on the market, it's been there for a while, the quality of it is good when you go to the right person, so that, your mistakes from your past in your beauty routines of over tweezing or whatever it might be, that there is a solution to it. And, you know, it was definitely one of the best things that I've ever done.
Yeah,
and add a little bit of good Botox.
Feel that way. Yeah.
You know,
and I think going back to you saying going to the right person, you know, as much as I would love to be the right person for everyone, I think that it's really important to remember that this is someone's art.
Yes.
And that we have, being an educated consumer, there's nothing that I first hate more when I get a client that calls me and says, hey, do you guys have any openings today for a microblading appointment? I'm like, are you crazy? Absolutely not. I don't care if my whole day fell apart and I had the whole afternoon wide open. Absolutely not, because that is something
it's not an impulse choice.
Right, it's not an impulse service, not at all. But then at the same time, I love my clients that are my little educated consumers, and they've looked at different artists. Nowadays with websites and especially social media, there's no excuse, and you really should be seeking out who the best artist is for you.
Right.
And I tell everyone, look for people's healed work. I think that as an artist, it's sometimes hard to showcase our healed work because we're not seeing our client necessarily,
right.
You know, after their brows are fully healed. You know, sometimes we are, sometimes we aren't. But I think that really seeking out the artist that's right for you, and that you're looking at their work and you're making sure that they're properly licensed and that they're, you know, practicing clean services and using quality supplies and pigments and things like that.
Right.
Because it's all really, really important, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's a commitment, it's an investment, just like your makeup bag, the classic pieces, your wardrobe,
skincare,
to absolutely all of it. And so, you know, I think we could talk about the subject forever, and, you know, maybe, you know, after this one, we might get more questions and we can always do like a part 2. Who knows where this will evolve into. But there's so much more to come for that. And maybe we'll even kind of talk about spring and summer looks that we think might be standard, that might be good across the board. Who knows? But you can check us out on YouTube, and we'll put the link to the book that I talked about today as well, in case you want to check it out. I definitely recommend it. So Thank you, Tori.
Yeah. Happy spring.
Happy spring.
Mm-hmm.